we move on to the locks of the week, and we have to recap last week, sadly.
Sadly,
not a great week for us. You were 0-2. You had Pittsburgh plus 20.5 against Notre Dame and Washington minus 26.5.
Right.
But the good news is you're still 15-6-1 on the season. So still an excellent record for you there. My week was a little bit better, but still not good. I went 1-2. My one win was the Michigan State, Minnesota under 40.5. And then my losses were Penn State minus 30.5 against Indiana. Never close there. And I also took the Pitt, Notre Dame under 46.5. Notre Dame crushed it by themselves, even without Pitt's late touchdown. So 22-24 for me on the season. It's a new week, Ashton. I give you the honors here. You still have the best record on the season. What are you looking at for your locks for week 10?
Okay, so I'm coming with a few of these. Now, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the Iowa Northwestern under.
Yes.
It is it has gone up. So it came out at 29.5, which is the lowest that we've ever seen an over-under, at least in my lifetime. I have not been alive for something less than that. 29.5 was the over-under. It has climbed a full 1.5 to 31. I can get 31 right now. That is still wildly low, like record-setting low, but it is higher than what it was yesterday. That's one of them. I'm looking at it. I would be going on the under on that one. I'm considering it. The other one I'm looking at is Georgia covering 16 points. I can actually get it as low as 15 points now. That has kind of bumped down. Why is this line so high? It's suspiciously high, right? Missouri coming off a bye, but we already said that we think in college buys might be just a little overvalued. So Georgia absolutely plays their best when the best is required. They seem to have left things kind of bullets in the gun early in the year. They definitely weren't showing everything on offense. They ran some stuff against Florida that I hadn't seen all year. So they're running new stuff now. Carson Beck is coming into his own. I'm considering the Georgia to cover. The over-under, I don't see a whole lot of value there. Maybe there is. The over-under is 55.5. That's kind of standard. You just throw that number out there when you don't know. But I think
I have a 15 out there for you.
Yeah, the line is suspiciously high. I can get 15 as well at my book. The line's suspiciously high. I'm going to, I think, go ahead and lock that one up. We're going to take Georgia to cover. And I have another one or two. Let's hear yours, and maybe I'll be talked into another one yet.
All right. So I'm looking at 3 this week, and obviously I'm open to hearing what yours are as well.
Okay.
I'm looking up the exact line right now, but we have Wisconsin at Indiana. Now, I just lost betting against Indiana last week. I'm still betting that Indiana is trash, and Wisconsin's favored. I've had as low as 8.5 out there. There's lines that are 10. So I like the 8.5. That's clearly, obviously, 10 is kind of a key number. So I'm taking Wisconsin minus 8.5. I know Indiana just came off one of their best games the entire season, keeping it close with Penn State. And I know Wisconsin is nowhere near as good as Penn State. I just don't think Indiana is any good. I think they were playing their A-plus game against a team that was coming off a horrifying loss. Very emotional. Give me Wisconsin. I'm over-explaining, but I'm taking Wisconsin minus 8.5. What are your thoughts on that one, Ashton?
I agree. I might lock that one up with you. I think there's value there. Indiana, so we saw them play Penn State close, right? And I think it often happens that after we see, a team play close and lose, we're like, oh, well, they're almost there. Next week they will get there. Too often, especially with Indiana, that was their A-plus effort. It doesn't get better. In fact, it's a step back the next week. So I think you might even see that a little bit with Stanford. Like they came close against Washington, and now they have to play Oregon, step back, potentially. So yeah, I agree with you there. I'm looking at 9.5. If you can get 8.5, that's even better. So yeah, I agree there. I might lock that one up with you later on.
All right, I'm also looking at this one sticking in the Big Ten. I actually like this one better. I'm taking Nebraska minus 3 at Michigan State. I know this is bad. It's 2 road favorites, but I feel like Michigan State has quit at this point. Nebraska, Matt Rule has done some good things as far as just turning them from an awful team at the beginning of the season to just below average or maybe even almost average. Like, they have an outside shot of still winning the Big Ten West. Like, they have a lot to play for. I feel like Michigan State has nothing to play for. They're just waiting to find out who their coach will be next season.
Yeah.
I feel like some of this line still has early season Nebraska baked into it and early season Michigan State. And I think they've gone different directions. I'll take Nebraska -3.
That's crazy that it's only 3 points. Like,
Yeah.
I agree with you there too. That one's suspicious. I'm not going to lock it up with you. But yeah, I agree with the side you're on.
All right. I've got one more, and I teased it earlier, but I'm taking the Notre Dame Clemson under 45.5. I know it's a low number. I just think both defenses have a pretty significant advantage over the other team's offense. Probably Notre Dame's more so, but also I wouldn't be shocked at all if we see Notre Dame turn the ball over a couple times in this game, and maybe Clemson finds a way to score like a defensive touchdown or give Klubnik a short field that he can actually work with. Like, and on the flip side, I just don't see Clemson having a whole lot of success on the offensive side against this Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame is good at both stopping the run and the pass. Benjamin Morrison and Cam Hart will be back for this game. Mitchell Evans, Notre Dame's best pass catcher, tore his ACL last week against Pitt.
Right.
So that, again, that kind of plays into the under for what I'm looking at here. So I'll take Notre Dame Clemson under 45.5. And I actually feel pretty good about it. I obviously, this can always go wrong. Like, one of these teams could, again, Notre Dame has had 2 consecutive games forcing 5 turnovers. If they do that again, they're going over, but probably by themselves. But I just don't, there's no way you can do that 3 times in a row. I see a lower turnover game here. I just see a lot of punts, probably a bunch of 3-and-outs. I don't know who wins, probably Notre Dame, but I don't think by a lot, and I think it's low scoring.
Can I interest you a little bit in the Washington USC? Washington only favored by 3.5 points. Is anything there at all?
I agree with it completely in my head. I think that USC has kind of become, instead of the playoff team that many thought they would be going into the season, they're now looking at a November where they have become spoiler. They play Washington, they play Oregon, they play UCLA. They're going to be an underdog against all 3, maybe not against UCLA, but there's a good chance it will be. And
probably,
I don't know if USC goes 0-3 against those 3 teams. Like, I think they pick one of them off, and why not Washington the way they're playing, and their defense isn't exactly great.
I agree with that absolutely. I think when you have a huge quarterback advantage, which, by the way, they will, not a huge quarterback advantage, but a quarterback advantage. The Washington and Oregon, especially Washington, like, the quarterback play has been tremendous all year long. But the thing is, when you get a quarterback and a group of receivers that are also playing well, like, USC can score points, man. They really can. I know. I like that. I think USC gets up for that game. I think they're definitely, their defense plays better than they do against Cal. I agree. I'm not betting it either. I'm staying away, but it is an interesting line. I can't believe it's that low. Like, that one just kind of stuck out to me a little bit. So currently I'm going to lock up just the 2. I'm going to take Georgia to cover the 15 points, which I can get. And then I will do lock agreement with you on Wisconsin covering 8.5. I know it's in Indiana and we're taking the road favorite. I think Wisconsin bounces back, and I think we already saw Indiana's best effort last week. Right. I think it gets worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think I like you taking the Iowa Northwestern under off the board. Just, it's such a low number. I know. Oof. It's probably the right side, but man, I would respect you for doing it. But that's a low number to play. So
we've had some numbers in the low 30s this year. I mean, really low 30s. We've never had anything in the high 20s. But by the way, those numbers that were that low, the under usually hit. So I mean, like, we had, I think, was it no, it was Minnesota, Iowa, the under hit. Yeah, I've been on the wrong side of that one a couple of times already. So
Yeah.
I'll just stay away. But yeah, it is interesting seeing a total that low.
Okay, to recap, your locks are Georgia -15 against
Yep.
Mizzou and Wisconsin -8.5 against Indiana. My locks, I agree with Wisconsin -8.5 against Indiana. I have Nebraska -3 against Michigan State, and I have the Notre Dame Clemson under 45.5.